So I installed Manjaro Budgie again on this laptop.
Yeah.
And Saif, who's our new guy, he's installing it right now.
Yeah, I'm doing the demo or something like that.
Hopefully not on the same machine he's recording on. That could be disastrous.
We'll know if he cuts out.
Yeah, I'm casting from the live image. So quite
really
exciting. No, just kidding.
Living on the bleeding edge.
Right. Roll and
Ricky, you
release.
installed this like a couple weeks ago, right? So you've been playing around with Manjaro for a couple weeks now?
Yeah.
All right, and you're running it on like a desktop or a laptop or something? Not on
no, I went with
virtual.
Virtual. Yeah, I was gonna do it on the desktop, but rather than go through all that pain, I figured, what the hell? I've got the ISO. Just load it up on a virtual and see what's up.
Yeah, see, I cheated a little bit because I was using Manjaro for most of August. So I actually stopped using it for quite a while, and then went to Antergos, which I found out runs better on my main machine than Manjaro for some stupid reason, because they're both Arch, right? So I suppose we should talk about what Manjaro is. It's an Arch-based distribution of Linux, which means it's not Ubuntu. So it's another distribution, kind of like what Fedora would be, or OpenSUSE, something that has its own package manager, which is really what I found when I first loaded up Manjaro. I was confused because I was trying to, I was like, apt-get Chromium. Apt-get Chromium. I was like, apt-get's not there. Like, where the hell's apt-get, right? And then I remembered, well, not everything's Ubuntu, Matt. You're dumbass. So today I want to talk a little bit about the package manager, which is Pacman. But they also have PacAUR, which is what we'll go through and get packages from the AUR, which is awesome.
They have the CLI one, and then they have two graphical interface ones.
And then there's Yaourt, which is also on Fedora. I think Yaourt's also on Fedora. I'm not sure. Anyways, I haven't really played much around with Yaourt, but I've been dealing with PacAUR, which is awesome.
Yeah, so Yaourt is like a package specifically for Arc to be able to improve the Pacman. So it's specifically to Arc Linux, and this allows you to have some sort of better control and more colorful looks in the CLI shell for using the Pacman package manager. But also it has like direct connection to the AUR. So that means you can download like community repositories and packages directly using your AUR without any other middleware. But it's also from command line. So, but yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the package manager situation thing, because, like I said, I've come to realize that I don't like Ubuntu anymore because of the AUR. Maybe it's just me that has a problem with going to Google, finding a specific PPA, whereas kind of the AUR is kind of everything's like right there. Especially even if you just use the graphical interface, just have it search the AUR on Manjaro, which you see the difference between Antergos and Manjaro, other than the few tweaks that Manjaro does over Arch Linux, is that you set up the AUR support in the installer on Antergos, whereas in Manjaro you have to actually go into the graphical the GUI on the package manager and select the AUR after putting in your sudo password. So it's a little bit different. And then we should talk a little bit about Budgie, because Budgie is actually a desktop interface or desktop environment from Solus, and they just went to version 10.4, which Manjaro has the ability to use 10.4 if you do the updates, and it's quite a bit different. But like in Antergos, it's still on 10.3, so I've kind of been using both. So we should talk about a little bit about that. So let's start with the installer. The installing process experience. What did you guys think about installing Manjaro?
Weird. It's very weird.
Why do you say that, Ricky?
It was okay. It was easier than when I installed Ubuntu and Kali. But I'm trying to figure out if that's because I was so much more of a noob than I am now. The interface is nice, but like it didn't. I don't know if that was if it was a limitation of doing it in a virtual machine rather than like on my hardware, but it wouldn't recognize my mouse, so I had to use my keyboard to do everything, and everything was really weird. Like it didn't just have a straight, like when you do Ubuntu, you get, two options: run it as a live disk, so it's running off the USB, or install on your hard drive. Really easy to understand. This thing had like, there's nothing that said like install. It just had like, I just happened to think, okay, I went through the options and then I'm like, okay, I think it said like boot something another or whatever, and then I went to that and it booted from the USB or the ISO image, I guess, and then it offered me the option to install. So that was like really weird. But then even when I did the install, so I put in the information, it's doing the install, and then I looked away for a little while, and when I came back, like it was at the login screen, but it was logged in as Manjaro. So I'm like putting in the password it asked me for, didn't like that. Put in the password for the admin account that it asked me for, didn't like that. So I had to go and search online, and then the default password is just username Manjaro, password Manjaro. And then that's when I figured out, that the login was actually from the installer. So once I did that, it allowed me, it said, installation is done, do a reboot or whatever. So it was just like little tiny things that are like really kind of misleading, like for a newbie. But I mean, overall, the graphical interface and everything is pretty nice. It's more like it's like halfway between Linux and like what you would expect from like a Windows installation.
All right, so Saif, what did you think about? You're installing this now for the second time, so did you have any problems with installing?
Well, no, I didn't face any problem. I mean, I actually installed it 3 times. One was using the the architect setup installation, which is a command line installation where you need to provide the Manjaro user and admin, like Ricky just said, and do some sort of a more manual expert installation. That's something cool they provided that way, because the true thing about the Arc is that you set up your SO the way you want it, and Manjaro has this architect installation, which is some sort of a middleware between something customized and something user end. So I went through that, and it was not for the noob, that's for sure. There was lots of decisions to make, and how do you want to boot, where do you do API, MBR, where do you want to set up swap, how much, and source. I mean, standard things. And then I tried the GUI installation from Budgie. So the first time I did it, I used a laptop, VirtualBox, and just set it to work with 1 gig of RAM. And for that amount of RAM, yes, it struggled a lot. So it's not a lightweight distribution either. I mean, the installation is slow because, well, I didn't have an SSD there. But then I also tried it with an SSD, and it takes some time. It takes a little bit more than the average installation time that any other operative system does. But the Budgie GUI interface is clean. I mean, it's kind of straightforward. You choose whether you want to use the same password for root and the same one for admin. And then, well, you get, after you finish, it just asks you to update. You have kernel updates, and you have the Manjaro good things about the hardware detection, and even Steam comes installed. So, so the installation, yes, I mean, it's not that very for newbies, but the GUI interface, it was clear, at least for me. So that was my experience.
Yeah, so I didn't have. So I've installed this probably 12 times in the last 2 months because I've been between my 2 or 3 computers here. I've been going back and forth between distributions like a madman. I mean, I've tried pretty much everything underneath the sun, at least in terms of main distros. For no apparent
Matt is growing
Well,
Linux beard.
yeah, so Ricky, you know me, man. When we were running a technology website, I switched that theme like daily sometimes because I couldn't. I love change just so damn much, and there was a reason why we weren't successful. And I'm doing the exact same thing with Linux because I love change. I just, I always want to try something new. So, I find a new distribution, wipe the hard drive clean, install it, hate it for about 30 seconds, install Manjaro or Antergos again, go to Ubuntu. I mean, I installed Linux 3 times just yesterday. I had Manjaro Budgie on it first. That's where it started, and then I went to Manjaro Mate, which I wanted to try because like everybody's on YouTube is like, oh, Mate is awesome, and yeah, I hated it. Used it for about half an hour. I was like, oh, this sucks. I went back to Ubuntu, or not Ubuntu, but Manjaro Budgie, and then I downloaded the new Solus, which is Solus 3, and I installed that, and that doesn't like touch screens anymore. So I went back and then this morning I installed Manjaro Budgies, and that's where I'm now on this laptop again. I mean, the poor SSD is going to hate me. It's a good thing that it's on a mechanical drive because the thing would have been dead by now.
But would you ever go back to Ubuntu?
I think we'll talk about that when we talk about package managers because my answer to that is no.
Okay.
But it has nothing to do with installer. So from an install experience, Manjaro, I had no problems at all anytime, except for one time, where it for some reason wouldn't format and reinstall the partitions on the hard drive. I'm not sure what was going on there. I don't know whether or not the USB key was funky or not. I'm not sure. But that was just one time, and I think it was more of a fluke. But I had no confusion. Like boot from the USB key, you're automatically in the live, on the live image, and you can just use it, right? I mean, unlike where Ubuntu tells you do live or install, you're just automatically in the live version of it. And then you have to, if you want to install, you hit the button in the welcome screen, and then it just walks you through it. I found it very simple. It's a little, comparing it to Antergos, which is I guess it's a cousin or something. I mean, because they're both, like I said, both Arch. I like the install experience on Antergos better because it gives you more options. So like, Antergos has one ISO to choose from. That's all they have. And then while you're in the install experience, you can choose from 6 different DEs. So you don't have to say you want to run Antergos GNOME. You choose it from the installer. You don't have to install, or you don't have to download that specific ISO. And it also gives you the option to choose what software you want installed. So you can choose whether or not you want Chromium or Firefox. You don't have to, or both. You can choose if you want LibreOffice and so on. But Manjaro is more just whatever's on the ISO, that's what you're getting, right? So you have to download specific ISO. So comparing those two, now what Saif was saying, you said you tried the CLI version of the installer.
Yes, I did the architect setup. Yeah.
So that's more of an Arch like experience, right? Because if you wanted to install just straight up Arch, not going the Antergos or the Manjaro route, that's all going from the just text based.
Right. It's not text based. It's like not Arc. I mean, I've installed Arc a couple of times ago in the past few years. It's you can follow in the user guide in Arc. You can do it, but yes, you need to have more understanding because they won't explain things if you don't read it by yourself. The good thing about the architect installing Manjaro is something in between that, so it's more like a guided wizard. So it's not like command shell where you need to write down your own commands, but it's more like a keyboard interface oriented installation with a wizard. So it's quite far from Arc, but it follows like the same structure in the installation. Like, okay, start with the time zone, your keyboard language, what are the repos you want to use, what are the mirrors you want to use for Pacman, set up your clock, hardware or digital logical clock, so
you
on
get
and
a
so
lot more.
forth.
You get a lot more. You get a lot more choice. It sounds like through that option than you do through the GUI, right?
Yes. You can even choose different file systems like BTRFS, XFS, whether to use LLVM and other like for formatting, like configurations you want to choose. So yes, you have to understand something, but it's still better. I mean, not better, but far away from the original Arc installation where you're booting into command line and you're on your own, right? So this is more guided setup, and it's a cool
Interesting.
The
thing.
reason,
Yeah.
the
Go ahead,
reason I asked is because, like, I've got Ubuntu on my laptop, right, and it's all set up. I mean, I've had it since last year, so I've got all my like programs set up, and so I'm just trying to think of your users out there, and there's so many distros, and it's like, if I use it and I like it, okay, sure. But then you got to think, so that means I got to take my data off. I got to, format install. Then I got to put back all the programs that I have. You know what I mean? Like with Windows, there's just one Windows. Is a new version, you do an update, all your programs are there. Same with Mac, right? Like with that, it would be nice if, say, you wanted to switch from Ubuntu to Manjaro, and you could do it. And I mean, it's obviously way more complicated, would never happen, but you know what I mean? Like if I've already installed, IRC clients, I have, encryption programs, Telegram, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to go and do all that over again. So maybe that's a detractor for me.
Yeah, you're never going to be a distro hopper, Ricky, if you hate installing stuff.
And starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? Even in Windows and Mac, like when I set it up like how I like it. Like it's maxed out with all the settings, but that's it, right? Like if I get a new version and I have to start from scratch, it's a pain in the ass.
You see what Linux needs? All right, so there's a website. I'm not sure what it's called. Like, so you install your Windows install, Windows 10 or Windows 8 or whatever, and then you go to this website. You pick a whole bunch of software that you want, and then you just hit one download button, and it downloads every single thing you want and installs it for you. Linux really needs that.
Wasn't there a version of Linux that was like that? I swear I remember a version where you install and you would have like a whole bunch. You could check off like a whole bunch of software that you want to install, and it will go through and download it for you.
Yeah, I've never heard that one.
I think what they need is they need one installer and abstract the Linux away from the, like, have two layers where one is like, I mean, obviously it would be really hard, but just in dreaming it up, right? Like, so you'd have one installer, you would go in and say you want Ubuntu, right? You would have like a list of Ubuntu, Sushi, whatever. You check the one you want, and then you check all the programs. But then after it installs, the Linux is abstracted from your programs. So if you want to switch to a different one, like say you want to switch to Manjaro, you would go in and just click it, and it would sort of be like how you have like a launcher, right? Like you have GNOME or you have KDE, like you can switch between them, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking that kind of thing. Obviously, it's impossible, but
You need
I like my programs. I hate.
And you don't want to switch. You're very you're right. It's never going to happen because Linux people like their choices, and the different distributions are sort of different. So this we can start talking about the next big thing, which is package managers, right? And then we'll finish up with Budgie. So Manjaro and Arch, however you want to say it, uses Pacman, which is the package manager, in contrast to what like Ubuntu uses, which is apt-get. So when I first started using Manjaro, when we first started talking about doing this review, I was very apprehensive after I learned that it used a different package manager, because like I know how to use apt-get. I know it's like instinctive use of opening terminal, sudo apt-get install, whatever. Whereas I had no experience whatsoever with Pacman at all when I installed Manjaro for the first time. So thank God for the man command. You know what I mean? So it was like man Pacman, and then it was just a process of learning. And once I got into the experience of using Pacman and discovered the AUR after turning it on, I discovered I really like the way Arc and Manjaro and Antergos does it. And the reason why is because, I mean, once you turn on the AUR, everything is there. I mean, literally, pretty much every piece of Linux software you can imagine is either within the Arc repositories or within the AUR, the user repositories. And you don't have to worry about going to Google Chrome, finding a specific PPA, on Google or something, I don't know, some shady website that you're not sure exactly is right, or an old PPA, or because you're not quite sure it's there. I mean, there's no one place. I understand that that they're trying to do that with some of the different kind of packages like Snap and what's the other one? What starts with an F? Flatpak.
Yeah, so that's a new one coming.
Right, so they're trying to get a place where they're kind of all congealed together, but whereas PPAs are kind of all over the damn place, right? So you have to really there's no place where you can just go find a list of everything you want. You have to. I'm going to install Google Chrome, so I have to go to Google, either download the deb package, or figure out how to do that off of Ubuntu. Whereas in Arch, it's just you go to the GUI if you want it. You're not going to use the terminal for the CLI for the first bit, and you type in Chrome, and Chrome comes up in the AUR. You click the little button, click apply, and it enter your password, and it installs. Same thing with like Terminator or Franz or the Google Music Player or Plex Media Server or Albert. Anything that I use, it's all exactly right there in one place. And it's literally awesome. I'm having a love affair with the AUR. It's kind of pathetic. I'm in love with a piece of software.
So how are you installing AUR packages? Are you like downloading the tar files and running make package, or are you using some GUI from Manjaro?
No, so like if you so they have, you can do two different ways. All right, at least from the experience that I have so far. You can open up the GUI software, add, remove programs in Manjaro, and then you have to get into the preferences and enable AUR. Once that's done, you only have to do that once, and then you just search for something, hit the button, apply, and it's installed. Or you can go to the command line, hit pacman -S and then pack-AUR, and that will enable you to use pack-AUR. And then you just go pack-AUR-S and then the package that you want to install, and it installs. I mean, it's literally as simple as that. And the only downside is, so like, especially if you're going to use the CLI, it's not going to be very good for new users, because you have to know the exact package name. So you can't just say, I mean, or at least like it's easy for like Chromium and Firefox and Evolution, because those are the package names. So like Chromium is the package name, unless you want to use the Git version, and then you'd have to know the Git package name. But there's something like if you wanted to install Telegram, for instance, the Telegram is Telegram desktop bin, which is the package. So if you're using the CLI, but the GUI has all that information there. You just search for Telegram. It sorts it by priority. So basically the not priority but popularity, and the top popularity one is usually the one that you want. Now I understand how they could go wrong. If you're really new to Linux, you just install something you have no idea what it is. So they get, unlike Ubuntu with the GNOME Software Center, which they use now, there's no it doesn't give you a screenshot or a very good description of what you're installing. It doesn't give you the ability to review or anything like that. It's nothing that complicated. It's just, it has a couple links, so you could go to view the GitHub page or on the Arc community. So it's a little bit different. I really like it. So what was your guys' experience with the package manager on Manjaro?
Okay, I can. Okay. Go ahead, Ricky. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I won't be long anyways. For me, I mean, the thing with the package managers for me is that it's really hard, because the fact that I work in Windows and Mac every day means I'm in the GUI interface. And then you see the thing when I'm in the CLI. But even with Ubuntu, everything is getting so, there's so many GUI alternate versions or whatever. And even in Manjaro, I find myself just using that because I use GUI all day, and I don't like it. Because with the CLI, then I have to learn the commands. But like Matt said, the thing I don't like, and I had it happen before, was if I search on a forum or something and I see a name of a software and I do apt-get search or apt-get install, and it'll say that just revert name, or you know what I mean? I wish they had some way that they had a main thing you could go to and search through. Which they kind of do in the GUI interface, because you can search and it'll come up. But like I said, I would prefer to use the command line instead. That's just because how I am. I like that. Like Matt likes to try new things every day. You use the command line because I'm sort of newish to it, so it intrigues me. But I do find using the GUI is a lot easier, and of course, as a person, you easier thing. My experience.
Yeah, Rick, we only got about 1 every 3 words out of that, but okay.
Am I breaking up?
Something about Pac-Man and packages, and I'm being happy.
We think we got that you use the GUI reluctantly because you'd rather use the CLI.
CLI, yeah.
Yeah. For some reason somebody's internet was going crazy. All right, so Saif, what about you? Really? What do you think about the Pac-Man?
Okay, so I have tried to have a broader view on the topic, right? Because Ricky was saying, okay, the thing about Linux is they don't have something unified or some sort of a wizard where you can switch. And the thing about Linux, if you think about it, is that there's more separation in Linux than in Windows, right? Or in Mac or whatever, because people in Linux is just made of different modules and components that are very stripped apart, and they have their own philosophies. And what distros do is put that together. And when putting that together, there's lots of decision making into where to put things, how to control things, what to let the user or not to let the user do. And that's where the package managers also come in an important role. So the philosophy is very important. If you think about Fedora is very free-oriented distro. They don't want commercial stuff in there. They don't want to have external. They allow external repositories, but it's your problem. We are not going to help you there. Where in Arch Linux you have the official repos where you access with Pacman, and if you want to do AUR, AUR is completely supported by the community. So that has a big trade-off, right? Because maybe some package, the maintainer did not have time to keep it maintained, and if no one jumped in, maybe the package is marked as outdated, and things might happen there because it's all on the users. Where the trade-off and things like external repos like Debian, where you add your own certificate to external repo to download the package, is that you're basically telling the owner of the package, whoever created it, like Chrome or SBT or Scala or whatever program you're trying to install, it's a problem of the maintainer. So in our instead, you have the maintainers problem where the owners of the package are the actually owners of them, and then you have the user who is the one that actually puts up that the package in the hour, and it has a longer process, if you get what I mean. So there is a risk involved in that to be, I mean, one needs to know and be like conscious that there's longer process between the creator of the package and the user community putting in an hour, and then yourself in your own setup of your PC and trying to get it done. What happens if you screw up with something? So there's a little bit of trade-off, and the good thing about Manjaro also is that it improves that because it gives you a GUI pre-installed, and also they help a lot with the hardware detection with their MHWD program, where they detect your hardware and help you install the drivers. So they help you a lot in there, and the community is great. I have also posted a package request in the forums of Manjaro once to ask for a package that wasn't in the hour, because the original package was only in deb and RPM, and they helped there put it together, make sure it worked for me. But it's all on the user, so that's the note I make, and that means it depends on how you use your PC. So if you rely a lot on commercial packages or on proprietary drivers, you will have a longer process here than in Debian, where Debian Ubuntu, where the package creators make the standard way, thinking that the user is going to use Debian or Ubuntu. So there's a risk involved, but nonetheless, I think that Manjaro is doing a great thing there, helping the user more with accessing the hour and Pacman. So that's a little bit on my view.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that Pacman or Manjaro does way better than like just standard Arch or Antergos, which is what I was using, is driver management. Because you mentioned drivers, like in Manjaro, there's an actual like Manjaro software, something or the other, where it actually you can go through and it will search for drivers for your graphics card or your Wi-Fi card or whatever. Whereas that's not the case in Antergos, because Antergos will only download the drivers through the repositories, and then it's up to you to go through and install them and configure them on your own. And it's not as easy as doing it through the GUI on Manjaro.
Yeah.
So real quick, guys,
I had problems on Antergos with NVIDIA video card. I have a 1060 GTX, and booting an Antergos on my PC, like physical PC, not a virtual box, the problems appeared, right? Like the boot manager did not how to handle my video card, so the standard installation did not work. They include an NVIDIA fallback launcher on the boot manager. That helped a little bit, but the fonts were huge, the resolution was not set properly, and that's a sign, right? Like how a distribution manages proprietary drivers and installation.
Yeah.
So
one thing
even on my laptop.
Go ahead, Ricky.
Sorry.
He is going. You just can't hear him.
Like just talking with you guys, I'm thinking right now that this weekend to take all my. I don't know what's going on with.
You must have something running in the background, Ricky, because your internet's not working very well. Either that or it's mine. Saif, you can hear me perfectly, right?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I'm also losing Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky must be having some. I mean, it's Canada.
Okay,
I mean, it's like the ass end of Canada. I mean, there's no way to have internet up in there. I mean, it's all snowy, and they got their snowshoes.
Yeah, signal is not good. There's lots of cold wind. The wind distorts the signal.
I mean, man, you live in Brazil. It's like, have you ever even seen snow?
No, not down here.
You guys got those volleyball and football and like real world football, not the crappy shit we Americans have. So, anyways, Ricky's gonna try to sign off and join us, but we should continue on. Let's talk about Budgie real quick, and then we'll have to get going. I really enjoyed the desktop environment of Budgie for me. We can hear you, Ricky. Are you a little bit better?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. We'll see if it sticks around. So we're gonna talk about Budgie for 5 minutes, and then we'll try to wrap it up. Ricky?
Yeah. No, I was just, since you talking with you guys, I'm thinking with my laptop this weekend, I think I'm going to grab all the data off, make a list of my programs, and then I'm going to reload it with the newest, I don't know, either Ubuntu or Manjaro, because I still have driver issues from when I installed it last year, right? So that goes along with the drivers that you guys were talking about, right? Like, I can't use my touchpad. I have to use a mouse.
Oh, really?
The touch screen will accept input, but only sometime.
Yeah, see, I haven't had any touch screen or touchpad issues on Manjaro at all. But granted, despite how many times I've been switching distros, I've been remarkably lucky with the hardware. I mean, it seems to work fairly well for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just awesome like that. I don't know. Anyway, so
you're actually lucky, actually, because it depends on the hardware and how the hardware owners distribute their drivers. So, for example, on my laptop, I have a Broadcom brand of a Wi-Fi Ethernet, and that one is a pain in the ass. Usually, it's not supported in any distro by default. Ubuntu does it well. Mint does it well. But with anything else, I had to go through. I mean, for Manjaro and Arc, there is a setup guide, but you have to go do it on your own. Connect your laptop to a cable, and then set it up with the kernel key DMS and build tools and compile the driver for your Broadcom. So you can have a hard time if you have the wrong hardware at the wrong time. Also, it happens if you have very new hardware, right? So usually driver owners are going to provide it for these standard distributions if they are even reaching Linux. So that's the risk here. But yeah, I had something there.
I think that's what happened with my laptop because it's got newer hardware. So
see, my laptop's brand new and I haven't had any problems. So like I said, it's just really weird. So then I have no, you can't have it. It's mine. Get your hands off, asshole. So I have so my desktop is 10 years old at least. It has a little bit newer of a graphics card, but even the graphics card is a few years old. So I've had absolutely no hardware problems on that at all, and it's really weird because I don't use proprietary drivers on that for the NVIDIA card. I use the open box soft.
Niveau. Yeah, there's a lot going on there right now with the drivers and all the thing.
We're running out of time, so real quickly, in just a couple of sentences, what do you guys think of Budgie? Because Budgie is like the new kid on the block in terms of environments. It's only been around for a couple of years. What do you guys think about it real quick? Ricky, go.
I like the interface. It looks nice. And I may actually get rid of Ubuntu this weekend and install Manjaro. I'll let you guys know on the next show.
They do have an Ubuntu Budgie, just to let you know. They do have that thing. All right, Saif, what do you think of Budgie real quick?
I think it's a great dark kind of desktop environment for people who like dark backgrounds like I do. So it's pretty clean out of the box. It's very organized. It looks like, I mean, it has some similarities with Cinnamon. I find it similar. It's a little bit lightweight, more lightweight than Cinnamon. It has fewer things, but it's more clean out of the box. One thing I didn't like is the panel to the right. Usually I would just want, for example, to open the calendar. And here in Budgie, you have this right panel where you see out everything there, the notification tab. And for small screens like my laptop, it's using quite a lot of space. So usually I just want to see this short, small calendar in the top. And here, if you click on this right panel, you have not only the calendar, but it opens the right side panel with the pulse audio configuration, the volume, You have the notifications area, and like it depends. It's on a little bit on taste, but it's for my taste, it's quite like big and space consuming to just see the calendar. I have to open the entire site. Yeah.
The thing about that is that you're right. In order to see any calendars, you have to use the Raven menu. But more than that, prior to Budgie 10.4, you had to use that notification if you wanted to change like themes or icons or whatever, unless you wanted to install the GNOME Tweak tool, which also works. But like all your appearance settings are in the little icon up at the top for the settings. Like it also allows you to change the panel at the top or the bottom or the size of the panel. Whereas in post 10.4, they've taken that out and into a more of a GNOME Tweak tool style Budgie tweaks kind of GUI. So it's kind of pulling a little bit of that, but still, you're right. The calendar thing really annoys because you want to view a calendar, you have to hit that instead of hitting the time, which is what you do on like KDE or GNOME. You hit the time and then it pops up a calendar, right? This is the Raven menu. So
yeah,
for me,
but it's quite lightweight on memory. I mean, if you take a look at the free memory and startup, it takes about 500 megabytes, which is kind of half of GNOME, and well, twice than XFCE. So it depends on the user case and the resources you have. But this is a middle point. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things is that's exactly what it is for me. It was right in the middle. It's I found it's more customizable than GNOME, but not as customizable as KDE. But it also uses a lot less
resources, yeah,
than KDE. But it's kind of like everything's kind of like right in the middle. What really surprised me most is that I moved from Windows to Linux to get away from the standard Windows look, and then I chose Budgie, which if you set it up the way I have it set up, looks almost exactly like Windows. It's really fucking stupid. Like I went from Windows to get away from Windows, and I'm still using basically something that looks exactly like Windows. It's terrible. It's interesting. I really like Budgie. Like I'm not a fan of the Raven menu, like you say. It's not. It seems like it's a step too far that I have to go to get to certain things like the calendar or pre 10.3 to get to the settings for the appearance, and it seems like it's out of the way and it's too far to go. It's like you have to reach for it. It's not as intuitive as some of the other things. Just the Raven menu. I mean, I understand what they're trying to do there. I mean, it's kind of the notification center for Mac OS. But anyways, all right. So that is our thoughts, really briefly, on Manjaro. So we need to. Ricky, do you have a pick of the week?
No.
No. Okay. Saif, do you have a pick of the week?
Well, regarding distros,
It could be like an app or something. All right.
Oh. Yeah.
I will say my pick of the week. You do have one. Okay, good. I will go first, and you can hear how we do it. So my pick of the week is Franz. It's when you're friends and colleagues with people who are assholes and can't all use the same messaging service. Saif.
I'm the one.
Yes. Asshole uses WhatsApp, and I hate WhatsApp with a passion. Ricky and I use Telegram. And then Vince and I use fucking iMessage. I don't know why you can't all fucking just use the same goddamn messaging service. It drives me nuts. Anyway,
yeah. Well,
Franz. Yeah, sorry. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I forgot you knew I'm an asshole. Anyways, I shouldn't say things like that. When there's Ricky, you got virgin ears. I shouldn't say things like that. Anyways, Franz is basically a desktop application where you can put all of your messaging services together. It's all in one thing. So I have WhatsApp, I have Telegram, I have Skype, I have TweetDeck, all in one place. Now you can't send one message and have it go through multiple messaging services. That would be awesome, but it still prevents you from having to install 9 different apps on your desktop. Now, unfortunately, I still have to do it on the phone because Franz isn't on like the mobile, but on the desktop it works really well. And obviously, it's free and open source. So Saif, what is your pick of the week, real quick?
Well, my pick of the week is Vivaldi, which is a browser that's incredibly customizable for the power user of browsing. You have tons of configurations from theme to appearance to shortcuts and even more hardcore configuration where you can set up the way you want to render your browsing pages and manage your history. So that's my pick of the week. I recently discovered it. I did not know it earlier in time, but it's a super powerful browser, and it's the most configurable browser I ever met. So the good thing is also it's a little bit lightweight on resources. It's even more lightweight than Firefox. I mean, Firefox is not winning the best lightweight browser ranking right now. It's using quite an amount of RAM, but Vivaldi is a good middle point between open sources like Chromium or Iron and Firefox. And so I would give it a shot. It has a good dark theme. It plays very well with any dark-based desktop environment. So that's my pick.
I haven't used it since it first came out, so I'm going to have to give it another try. Okay, so that is it for us this time. We will be back in 2 weeks this time with a more broader topic. I'm not sure quite what it's going to be yet, but we'll talk about something a little bit broader. It won't be another distro review for another month. If you want to get in contact with us, you can do so. Email at thelinuxcast.com is the email address. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at MTWB. Ricky's Ricky_Williams1, and Saif is, what the hell are you, man? You're Jensen Vars. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's kind of nickname.
Yeah, all right. So he is JEANSENVAARS.
Super hard. Yeah, I might make a new one. GV or something like that later on.
Keep it if you want. Don't let me make you change your stuff.
It's fine.
If you want to get in contact, and the Linux Cast is the Linux Cast on Twitter. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/thelinuxcast. We're not on Mastodon, or actually, I'm on Mastodon, but the cast isn't. So you can follow me at MTWB on Mastodon. I haven't done shit on that social network, but I'm there because that's where Linux people are supposed to be. I just want to point this out. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I changed the font of the show notes to Ubuntu because, I mean, it has to be a crime not to use the Ubuntu font on show notes about Linux. I'm just saying. All right, so that is it for us this time. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We're signing out. See you later.
Okay, goodbye.
Ubuntu's life.